this is a pre-lunch session, so we're going to make it interesting and, make sure we have a great appetite build up. I generally don't have such a husky voice, but I'm glad I'm sounding a little sexy, I guess, because I have a very bad throat infection. So that's how we're going to do it this now. Typically, when I come for workshops, I have about 25 years of experience now. And my attempt when I come to a workshop and I meet wonderful HR practitioners, business people and professionals, one thing I try very hard to do is to give an insight. Out of my 25 years, what is that one or two things that I can share with people? And today I was missing that, insight. I wasn't sure what I want to talk about till I met Rubi. So since we are a bit, almost an hour late in the session, we interacted a lot, we spoke a lot. And, guess what? I got my insight, which I would love to share with all of you with, with all humility. Is that I come from an experience which is in life insurance. Out of my 25 years, I've done more than 20 years in life insurance. Today, you give me any NASA level paper of insurance, I can pass it. There's nothing that I don't understand in that business. Rubi, on the other hand, when I was interacting with her, realized she has done, multi-industries and multi-roles. She's done various things in HR, in business, in different locations and different industries and businesses. So my insight to all of you today is if I had to choose, my career all over again, and or if somebody would like to have an answer to this question, is specializing better or is diversification better in HR? A lot of times we debate that question in our heads. It's tempting, hum ek hi mein aage badhte rahe ya hum alag-alag cheezein kare. Today, after meeting her, let me tell you, go her way. That's a much better way in today's times, and I will tell you why. It's simply because the world ahead does not need you to know books or even, focus on how HR has to be done. It needs you to know how to deal with ambiguity. It needs you to know how to adapt very fast. It needs you to wake up every morning and take on a challenge separately. It needs you to be a new person every day because the population you're dealing with is waking up to be a new person every day. Which is why, if I had to choose, like I said, I would say, try hands at different things, different industries, have more experiences. Don't bother so much with deep dive because that deep dive is going to change tomorrow. It's not helping anybody anymore. The world's changing very quickly. So try and grab new experiences, new companies, new verticals and new things and be fearless. Like I said, when I was growing in HR, deep dive had its value. Personally, I would think today it has very less value. You should, do different things, grab on newer challenges, trust your managers if they want to give you new things and, go that way. Do not confuse growth with promotions. This is a very deep insight. Do not confuse growth with promotions. Growth is when you're doing different things and not the same things better. And, try to plan your career as zigzag, as horizontal as you can, because then getting to the top is a lot more easier. So challenge yourself, challenge your business, make sure by the time you're middle management, you've done 3-4 different kind of things. As you're reaching top management, you've done 8 different things. Trust me, your growth is going to be better and you would make better CEOs. Please remember, every HR person is the best bet to become a CEO. Let's get there. And, try and, remove all those HR jokes that we see every year, right? So, we are a lot more than offsites and samosa and, whatever jokes come. So, I would challenge all of us to not just make your ambition to be an HR head, make your ambition to be a CEO, and you can do it. Just, put your best foot forward every day and learn from careers, like hers, where, you're doing different things on different days. That was my insight. Sorry, I took a moment, but it was important for me to share that experience. On that note, Rubi, let's get going.
Thank you. This is too much of pressure. I better do my job well.
You will. Give me a high five.
And growth doesn't mean you shift jobs every 2 years. So.
Okay. So, Rubi, my first question to you would be, what is your approach to reskilling and upskilling? And, in your industry, how are you sort of catering to that demand?
Sure. So, good afternoon, everyone. I represent Luminous Power Technologies. We are a part of Schneider Group. we are constantly evolving. And competency being a bedrock and a single source of truth of taking all talent decisions. What we've realized is skill brings a larger perspective, and skills taxonomy becomes very, very important. So we are in that stage in an organization where we are moving with competency and skill taxonomy. One thing which plays a very pivotal role here, Kiran, is business backward. We can't do anything if we work in silo, and especially a team of learning, talent, OD, and diversity. We have to have a business context, and we need to have work hand in gloves with business. So there are 3-4 skills. So I'll also give you a little bit of background. Luminous has moved. So from a typical manufacturing organization, we are becoming a prosumer, technologically driven organization. We have moved from batteries to inverters, and now we have come up with a solar plant, which is like a 250 megawatt in Rudrapur. So if I have such a capability and I'm growing so fast, the organization is fluid, and therefore what are the skills that required? We have identified those skills. So we have identified solar as a critical skill. We have identified lithium-ion batteries as a critical skill. We have also identified AI tech and firmware. Now, Kiran, what I would like to add here is, these days HR also lives in a FOMO, fear of missing out. We want to give everything to everyone. So what we've realized is, not everybody needs to know solar. I just need to know the basics because I represent Luminous. But somebody needs a mastery, and therefore that person needs to go to IIT or maybe a Plaksha University, right? So what we've done is we have identified these 3-4 skills. We are doing a deep work, and we have also categorized in the format of beginners, advanced, and mastery. So that's the kind of work we are doing on upskill and reskill.
Nice.
Great. Yeah. Okay, so Kiran, while you have grilled me with the first question, what was, and with due respect to the previous panel of technology, I was thinking if AI tech is here to stay or it's a burst, because today's newspaper, technology is pivotal, especially when we speak about AI. In fact, since morning, there is a growing chatter in some Wall Street circles that AI rally that fueled a bubble that added $9 trillion to value to the S&P 500 is here to burst. You look at the stock market today, from Apple to Meta, everyone is down. And the only thing that we have recognized, worked, identified is ChatGPT, which is making some sense, right? Microsoft has invested around $14 billion in 1 quarter, and they don't know what will be the return of it on AI and tech. And I'm not against AI and tech. With reference to that, my question to you is, Kiran, how are you leveraging technology? Because I also have an experience of insurance. I know people are heterogeneous and come from different backgrounds, considering multi-generational workforce. How are you using technology in improving onboarding, and also any innovative techniques that you would like to share with all of us?
Sure, thanks for that question, Ruby. Another thing that I want to say to all of us as HR people, some of us missed the technology bus initially, including me. That's something we should never do. We have to be with the times. While there's always a people element, which will be important, but tech is here to stay. Everybody wants to do everything on tech, so don't miss that bus. Coming to, Ruby, your question on what we have done differently. One thing I believe we did differently, and I think in the hindsight it's helped us, is that we didn't stick with one large partner. There are huge companies doing technology today, but we didn't stick to one large famous partner. What we are doing is meeting small companies, mom and pop shops, who have like 5 employees, but they have amazing tools, that you can use. They are more agile. They are more, easy to adapt to. They are more customer centric. Because what happens is, and you would have all experienced, big vendors want you to work for them. We want vendors to work for us. So what's, one thing that worked for us, Ruby, was that I have 5 onboarding tools, right? It's not one company, but I have the best on each tool. And now we've linked all of them. So now our entire onboarding is tech-based. People can do it on a weekend from home. Your entire paperwork is, through technology. You're including allocation of buddies. You can upload photos, share experiences. But like I said, if one thing that I've done differently is, like I said, meeting smaller IT vendors. They're doing one odd thing maybe, but it's working very well. So one example I like to share is there is somebody who's doing research on how many offers a person may have. Now, what's happening is that when we made an offer to somebody, and as HR people, we're waiting 90 days for them to join, and on day 89, they'll tell us they are not joining, right? So there is this vendor, I don't know how he's doing it, he's tied up with many companies, I think. So they know which person is holding how many offers. Okay, so you know what are the chances of that person joining, and you know how much you can engage and take a call on your. So again, like I said, smaller vendors doing amazing work. Meet more people is what I would say. Keep meeting 2-3 vendors every month, and there'll be something in it for you. This is very easy nowadays through API to link different tools. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Meet different people, and through API connect the tools and give an amazing experience to your people.
Brilliant. So it's like smaller firms giving better value, is
Absolutely,
it?
absolutely.
Perfect.
So next, going on to you, Ruby, in what ways has talent development, evolved to better support employees' growth and movement?
See, we have a clear demarcation between learning and talent programs, and I would just spend a little bit more time here, because when we say talent development, we need to understand, we talk a lot about 70-20-10, right? We also need to know how many of us are institutionalizing it. So one, we are institutionalizing it to the core.
Sure.
We also understand why experience exposure education, right? So if you look at HBR 2022, there's an interesting article which says experience leads to experimentation, exposure leads to sense making, and education leads to make me aware of my mental model, which is so critical for a leader and a talent, right? So for us, I think what has worked is building that depth in talent development. Number two, we focus on workplace projects. Because we are a part of Schneider, we also have cross-organizational projects, global projects. We very much internally promote mentoring. And there's a conflict which always goes on, that if there's a mentor in the room, then there will be always a bias. But the point is, I need someone else to sponsor me other than my manager on the table. So if the executive committee is discussing me as a talent, it is not only my manager who should speak about me, it should be also somebody else who has a say on my potential and capability. And the last thing which has worked very powerful for us is shadowing. So if I want to groom my talent, and maybe from a mid to senior, how do I make them experience what does the next level role looks like? So, and it's a project management, it's a project plan, it's rigorous, but these are a few things that have really, really worked for us.
Nice.
One very critical thing, and I'm sorry, I keep referring to research papers, is an interesting article in 1994 which was published, which says that for any learning and talent development intervention, you just need 3 J's. Just in time, just for me, and just enough. If you give that to your talent, it's pertinent, and there will be always an alignment between how you want to grow as an organization. So yeah, that's
wonderful.
That's what I would add. Moving on, and while you have spoken about talent, I think one question that keeps on my mind, because I was also going through something which was very interesting. So as per Concentric 2023, 49% of employees feel that organization isn't delivering on experience. While we are ring fencing them and all of that, how are you enhancing the employee experience, and how does technology also helps you in there?
Technology helps, wonderfully. So what we've done recently is that all the first level interviews are all tech based. So we found an amazing platform where we've loaded the questions for each job description, right? So the technology through tech, the questions would be asked for each person depending on the level, the role, and the function that they're coming for. So they don't have to come in, for the traditional first level interview with HR. Now, how that's helping us is first, there is a huge accent on sustainability across the world, and through that we are demonstrating that you can save that 2 hours of travel, taking chutti, coming and meeting us. The first level interview is completely done through technology. So we are actually demonstrating carbon footprint saving through HR by that first level of interview, and through tech we are asking those relevant questions to the person who so we're enhancing the experience, because till you figure out you want this role or not, and are you really happy with the way we are, you're doing your Glassdoor research, you are checking us out on LinkedIn, you can do your first round of interview on tech, see the experience, And for second round, of course, you can, come in a more detailed format. So we've got very good feedback from employees. They love the fact that we are bringing tech in every aspect. And we're also able to do, like I said, sustainability. So that's something that has, worked very well from an experience standpoint for us.
Brilliant, brilliant. That's very nice.
Yeah, people are, because the current, world is all about what are you doing differently than, what we're experiencing, somewhere else. Coming to you, Ruby, I'd like to know, in terms of leadership development and goals, how are you aligning it from a human resources point for your people?
Kiran, this answer will interest you.
Okay.
So I worked with insurance. Now, typical organizational problem, and irrespective of the industry, this can be a problem across. Every top talent is a hero in their business and their function. Their manager doesn't want to let them go because they get 70% of the revenue. Right? So you have insurance channel, you have agency, access, banker, etc., etc. And all these leadership levels, they operate in silo. An agency channel head will say, I don't know the CVP because I have not worked with him. What I think I take a lot of pride in this is we created something called talent scorecard. See, one thing that we really need to understand is we need to get business in the game. We brought in managers. It was dovetailed in their goal sheet. I repeat, it was dovetailed in their goal sheet. Our deputy managing director was tracking it. And every channel head was sharing the individual development plan progress. I'll give you an example. So if one channel, there is a CVP who is in one region and we want to move this person to another channel, there was an experience map which was created to ensure that this person is ready for it. What we miss out at times is after the talent review, we don't analyze what is the percentage of successors that we have. Do we have the same successors? What is the ratio of their readiness? How many? So if tomorrow I leave the job, what is the percentage of talent which is already ready to take my role now? And how many of them are in 6 months, 12 months, 8 months? That really helped to create fungibility of talent across. So now I knew that if agency's corporate vice president moves out, I have an access person who will take the role, right? So that led to mobility, fungibility of talent, and it also created a pool of talent density within the organization, because what we need to focus is density and depth of talent. So that helps us in organizational outcomes.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. In fact, coming on succession planning, in our CEO's goal sheet in my company, for the CEO's goal sheet, we've actually added a weightage to ensuring, you have 90% readiness in each role. In each management role, there's 90% readiness of the next person who can take over. And we have, plans for them, training programs for them, buddy programs for them, rotational programs for them, to make sure that, because finally getting talent from outside is always going to be tougher. So we want to, give an accent to internal people in promotions, but not just handing it to them by vintage, but by training them for it.
Absolutely. And you need to have a right sense of build versus buy in your organizational context. If you don't have that, you'll miss the game. Right? So that's very, very critical. Right. So moving on, I was going through this interesting report of Udemy on skill, which said that the perspective of organizations is shifting. They are shifting from we need people to fill the jobs to we need people who have skills, right? So on that note, tell me about successful reskilling initiative at Canara HSBC.
Yeah, wonderful question. And, one of the biggest challenges we had, Ruby, HR is nowadays on roller skates, right? We have to just do so many things, at the same time and make it look easy, right? Because if we don't make it look easy breezy, people will get more stressed. So one thing that we've done, let me be honest, maybe there are, organizations who have people who are always raising their hand to do new things. It's not my experience. So what we had to do was mandatory job rotations. We are insisting that if you want to grow, you have to do one role which is completely contrast to what you currently do. So growth now is subject to you having done deep projects or a role outside your focus area, right? So we've had to sort of, like I said, sell job rotations very heavily, Ruby, and that has helped us because now we have people who understand a new role and have an in-depth understanding of another perspective. And trust me, to be great business leaders, you need to have 2 to 3, understanding of 2 to 3 functions to really give solid answers with gravitas. Otherwise, you'll always be a subject matter expert. But businesses need more than subject matter experts. They need diverse views. So when you say, reskilling, Ruby, so one thing that I want to say is to support this is that a lot of times when companies, go through a downside, the first thing they do is take away L&D budgets. Have you experienced that? Take away training budgets because all that suddenly seems superfluous. Training, L&D, ye to baad mein dekh lenge, let's focus on business. That's the biggest mistake organizations can make. Always fight for L&D budgets, always fight for training budgets, because if we are not reskilling ourselves, if we are not learning new things, we would become a weight on the organization and not lead it anywhere. So as HR, I think it's important we fight for our budgets, we put it in the right places, and in our company at least, and if one insight that I want to give is either by choice or by force, make people do more than one job. Job rotation is gonna be really the game changer in the next few years.
Yeah. So for in our context, and wherever I've joined, I've seen organizations going through a cultural transformation. So leaders till N-2, we are building them to become enterprise leaders, which is a fine balance of perform and transform. So that's an interesting shift that I'm seeing in leadership development.
Great. Moving on, and I'm just conscious of time, is Ruby, you also look at D&I for your organization. And that's a topic I think all of us are passionate about. It isn't about, doing the right thing anymore. It's a mandate now. We have to look at more inclusion practices. So can you share some insights around your inclusion practices?
So inclusion is a bedrock for us in Luminous. What we are doing is we are doing a lot of sensitization workshop. But that sensitization workshop is not only around biases, inclusion, allyship, psychological safety. I was in Baddi, one of our manufacturing plant, and doing a session there. And we had tough conversations. I had people asking me, why do we need DEI? We have never seen women in line. Why do we need them now? And that's the kind of conversation we need to have in an organization, that why do you need DEI? Right? We usually don't like such conversations. And we take it too personally, especially a DEI advocate. Right? And I don't take it personally. So I think one way of building inclusion is promoting such difficult conversations and let people speak. Because in turn, you're also giving a lot of psychological safety to them. Second, using inclusive language. So I don't use guys anymore to address anybody. I use folks. That's the first step of being inclusive. And what we are doing is we are sensitizing our people to use that language. Third, while inclusion is a bedrock, equity is being fair, we also realize that this is a long journey, right? At a systemic level, you do policies, practices, initiatives. At an individual level, it's mindset. And we usually start with gender, generation, because there's a business case, you see evident result, etc. So while we are working on women, we also understand there's a certain level of positive affirmation which is very important. There's an interesting report which McKinsey is publishing back to back saying there is something called broken rung. We all talk about glass ceiling, where women are not reaching the boardroom. By the way, women are not reaching the first level manager role, yeah. So in the McKinsey report, it says out of 100, only 87 women get their first time manager role. And that is why we are addressing it by doing a mid-level program which can enable women to take the next level role of a first time manager. So that's something. So we are, and I know the moment we address the broken rung, we will be able to address the larger perspectives.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So, okay, my last question to you, and we can of course then open it to audience. With the diverse workforce coming into the organization from different walks of life, what shift has employee expectation, especially in insurance, I would like to know this, has changed, and how is your organization responding to attracting and retaining talent?
Okay, I'm going to break that up, Ruby. Thank you for that question. Break that up in a couple of parts. I had an interesting conversation. I was chatting with my mother the other day, and I was, generally a little hassled with, dealing with employees is getting a little tougher nowadays within this room, if I have to say, because the expectations are so different. And there is this list of things that we want, but what will we deliver? That list is a little smaller. And, so thinking, how is it that as HR, how can I deal with this? And I was like, Mom, I don't know why people are, where are these people coming from with, these expectations? And my mom, being my mom, she said, they're coming from your homes, because this is what, you're letting your children believe.
Yeah.
And it was a little shocking at that moment, but in a way it's true, I guess, because in schools today, every kid is told, all of you are perfect, all of you are coming first in the race, there are no medals, you're the best, the world is here to serve you. And those are the kids which are coming in employment forces. And it is difficult to explain to them that there is a Maslow's hierarchy, there is a bell curve, there is this. So it is challenging, to say the least. It is challenging. A couple of things that we are doing is, I'm very happy. The first thing we did is I hired some interns in HR, and I'm just learning from them, personally learning from them how to adapt, because they have such a different way of doing everything. So I think first is reverse mentoring that we have to look at. Every manager in the business who's above 40 should work with a younger intern, so that we are able to see the world through their eyes. See, as people, we can change many things. We are in a position to launch new things, but all that will happen when we absorb the fact that we have to shift ourselves. So first thing that we've done, Ruby, is put in a lot more young people in each function, working directly with the function heads, so that we are able to see the world through their eyes. And that has made actually quite a bit of shift, because we are able to now engage better, and plan better for our workforces. It takes a while for the penny to drop, that the change has to be, don't expect it in other people, start with yourself, and then see how you want to, work around it. So change starts with you.
Superb. In fact, this is interesting. So we are curating a program called Multi-Generational Workforce, and the core is leveraging millennials. And this is an argument between effort and outcome. So a millennial goes to a manager and says, sir, this is the effort that I made. I made to do whatever I had to. And the manager says, but dhanda to nahi aaya na. Right? So it's a fallacy between effort and outcome. And that's exactly what millennials and Gen Zs are facing right now.